Hello and welcome to episode 30 of the Wealth Amplifier podcast, rounding out 2024. I'm Aaron Marks, joined by Matthew Liebman and Patrick Swift, as always.
Good to be here with you guys as we close out the year.
Yeah. So I guess before we dive into predictions for the year ahead, Aaron, you want to do the damage? How bad were we for this year?
How good or bad? All right, so let's run it back. Reminder, we did this last year. Pat and Matt, neither have reviewed the podcast from last year. I did, so I'm going to shoot from the, I'm not shooting from the hip. You guys are shooting from the hip on your responses, shock or not, on how you did. So we had a whole bunch of sort of set categories: stock market, bonds, U.S., international, foreign, small cap, large cap, those sort of things. And then we went into some other random ones. So I'll run through it. So first was stock market, but U.S. stock market and large cap stocks specifically. So call it the S&P 500. And the parameters were flat, meaning down 5 to up 5, more positive or negative, meaning 5 to 15 on either side of the positive or negative, or up big or down big, 15 plus or minus. So we'll start with Pat. Pat, unlike yourself a little bit, was not super bullish. You were at an up modestly 5 to 15. Now, hearing 5 to 15, 15 is not modest. 15 is a very good return, but up modestly 5 to 15.
Yeah. I remember that. That's the one I remember the most. And I think I was thinking that my prediction was that stocks would return in the teens, in the 10 to 20 range, really.
Well done. Well, let's start with where is the S&P right now? And with today, December 19th, when we're recording, we had a very bad day on the stock market, broadly speaking, yesterday. So that pulled back 2 or 3 percentage points.
Yeah, even with the pullback, we're up 23, 24%. So I still, to your point, was not as bullish as things actually have panned out this year, but reasonably bullish.
All right, on to Matt. You gave it a kind of flat, slightly positive prediction.
Yeah, I remember that one. And, I was loud wrong. Thankfully for our clients, we didn't follow my prediction on this thing. But yes, no, I did not expect the exuberance and positivity we have seen this year.
And yours truly, with a resounding, I said, big up year. Plus 15. I didn't remember that, actually. I assumed I said somewhere middle of the road, but hey.
Nice. I didn't realize. I didn't remember that you basically nailed it. So good for you, Aaron.
Of course, I could be lying. You guys don't.
That's right. I didn't
re-listen. So, all right, that was U.S. stock market. So the next one, we sort of just on a whim, we're talking about mid and small caps. So we didn't have a formal prediction here. And Pat, I did not mention anything, but it just a general sentiment. Both Matt and Pat were positive on mid and small caps, thinking they're going to have a good year. Again, relative to broad U.S. large cap stock market. So where are mid and small caps today, you guys?
I have the Russell 2000, which is the small cap index, up about 9.7, so just shy of 10%. Mid caps, let me see mid caps.
I think they're a little bit stronger.
Sounds right. Mid caps.
So look, we said positive. We didn't say to what degree. So it did not outpace large cap U.S. stocks, but still were positive.
Yep. Yeah. Mid caps around 13%, depending on the
year. So I'm going to take the win on that one, in that like roughly 10 to 15% for those was kind of what I thought might be the case. It's just that, again, going back to my first prediction, large caps were just way better than I thought they'd be. But small caps being in that sort of low double digits, small and mid cap, that's roughly in line with what we were thinking then.
So we've got this 15, 20-year conversation going of U.S. versus international. And where do we have international stocks year to date, guys?
Year to date, we've got, let me just make sure I'm looking at the right thing here. A whopping positive 1.65% if you're just looking at the total foreign outside the U.S.
All right. So that gets you a good swath of what we're talking about here, whether it's developed or emerging. Still. Applies. So, Pat, you did not say on this one for whatever reason we got sidetracked. I said international does not outperform U.S. Matt, you agreed, and I did though say everyone says that the international markets will not outperform U.S. and maybe that's the reason now that we think they might because everyone's generally wrong on things. But 2 for 2 for those who guessed on the international versus U.S. markets.
All right. Well done. Right. Well done as a team.
This is actually going a little better than I thought it would. I think I only remembered my very wrong one on the U.S. large caps, but the other ones are going okay so far. Although I probably just set myself up. You're gonna bring up one.
No. But that's us as human. We always remember the failures. I think more than the wins. So, U.S. bond market. So call it, just broadly speaking, what do you want to track? The 10-year Treasury,
sure.
AGG, the U.S. aggregate bond ETF is, I don't know if this includes income or not, but it's down about 2%. So call it flat.
Yeah, I thought
Does that seem right to you?
Yeah, that sounds right. Because
Pat, sorry to say, up big was your prediction.
So and that just to make sure. So was that a bet on bond prices or yields?
Bond prices. We have yields as a separate topic. That's coming next.
Okay.
And then Aaron and Matt both flat. So I got lucky, I think, copying Matt on that answer.
There's a client, old client who's now since deceased. She'd be over 100 now if she were alive, but she used to tell me, "You're a bond guy," and so I guess the predictions bear it out so far. I mean, pretty good on the bond side, and I swung and missed on the stock side.
Onward to this is the last real market direct one that we all answered. The Fed. So we said, are they going to be hawkish, dovish? Will there be 0 interest rate cuts by the Fed? Would it be 2, 4? Would interest rates rise? Matt was going to say, well, first, what has the Fed done? Let's just talk about that. What has the Fed done year to date now with their cuts?
3 cuts for what is it? A total of 100 basis points?
Right. So I would almost think of that as 4 because I think of it in quarter point increments. Yeah. But you're right. They did a double cut and then 2 singles.
So Matt, you were there. You were down the path. You were saying 1 to 4 cuts, and then you said, "But you know what? I'm saying no action, no move by the Fed." So that's where you ended up.
Yes, and I still contend they should have listened to me, but strangely enough, they did not.
I again, knowing that Matt's the bond guy, I just copied Matt. I said same as him. Pat, you went a consensus, mostly dovish from the Fed with 2 cuts specifically at the end of the year.
Nice work, Pat.
I was going to say, I, from what I remember, I think this is my victory dance. Back half of the year cuts.
Yep.
After they were hotly debated versus being consensus. So,
all right. Next question was Biden, Trump, or other? Biden, Trump, or other as the next president? Pat, Trump. Aaron, Trump. Matt, do you remember what you said?
I think I said other.
And specifically?
I think I said Nikki Haley.
You got it right. So Nikki Haley. Nice. Could have been. It might have been.
I mean, I was trying to go out of consensus, and I think. I mean, I guess you would say Harris did better than Nikki Haley being on the ballot, but Nikki Haley hung around for a while. She was, I guess, second place on the Republican side.
Yeah,
got close there.
I remember just for 1 second when we were talking about some of this stuff like in the back half of the year here. And because, Kamala had the Democratic nominee, we had brought this back up and we were like, Matt, you might actually win that prediction.
I think we did another one. I don't even know if it was on the predictions podcast. We did an over under 1 electoral vote for someone not named Trump or Biden.
Yeah, I remember you asking us that. Yeah.
And so we got that one because Harris pulled through for however many we got. Yeah.
Right.
You're thinking in the right vein. All right, then we have a bunch of random ones that each of us made a prediction. So I'll just go randomly through here. Pat went with Oilers win the Stanley Cup.
I was
my
close,
gosh,
man.
that was close.
I was close.
They lost in the finals, right?
Game 7 of the finals after they came back from down 3.
I don't even remember who won.
Florida Panthers.
Yeah.
It's always so awkward when Florida teams win in hockey. Like,
I know.
Happens a lot
down there. And it happens a lot. You're right. It does happen a lot.
Recently, yeah.
Some guy named Aaron said Dolphins were going to win the Super Bowl. I don't know what that
was. That last Super Bowl then? I guess.
Yeah, I guess.
Yeah.
I don't know where that came from.
Well, it must have been because we record in December, so it must have been this.
Yeah. No, that makes sense. Yeah.
Matt, Sixers will get out of the second round of the playoffs.
Well, do I take the loss because they never got into the second round of the playoffs? So I don't know. What a disaster they are. Let's move on.
5 more. Pat, housing prices will fall.
Kind of got that wrong. Huh?
Yeah, I guess broadly they've gone up, but you've had some movement in both directions.
They've slowed a little bit, at least.
Yep. Matt, you came back into the markets world and said small cap will outperform large, but again, didn't know how much large was going to be up. So
still wrong. Still wrong. I'll take my loss.
This next one was from me. And I think I'm wrong here. I said the IPO market comes back. I mean, probably not to a meaningful degree.
Yeah, it hasn't yet. Feels like it's percolating, but we'll see.
Yep. 2 more. Matt, both major wars will come to an end.
Optimism was I guess a little misplaced there, though.
Right.
I think it's getting closer to happening.
Getting closer, right? It's just a matter of timing.
Yeah.
And Pat, finally, private credit will go bad. Now you didn't say you did say it, maybe it's coming, and you said maybe it's 24, maybe it's 25, but that maybe didn't come true yet.
Yeah.
We can talk about whether we agree with what's going forward, but
yeah, I would double down on that one.
Those were the predictions, guys.
All right.
So if I were to evaluate that just listening, I didn't, as you said, Pat and I didn't review beforehand. I would say that you guys came pretty close to tying, and I was definitely in last. That's my evaluation of that. Not disastrous, but I think each of you did a little bit better. And Pat, I'd probably give the win because of that random Oilers thing. Was close enough.
And the very specific bond Fed prediction. That was pretty good. Too.
So I might go in age order here. Youth winning the day, and Aaron in the middle, and I lost.
So not to dance on your grave at all, Matt, I'll just use it as a good lesson that we like to teach to clients is amongst the 3 of us, I think we generally tout you as our smartest investment person, smartest market prognosticator. And you were the most wrong, at least this year. And the reason why I'm saying that is the smartest people on Wall Street are often so wrong, which is why you got to have a plan. You got to have your investment portfolio well diversified, all the things that we talk about all day long, just using our own silly prediction episode as an example. That's all.
Fair enough. I'll take my beating. So, all right, time to redeem myself. Let's go to 2025.
All right. Do you want to steer here on the topics?
Yeah, and actually, Matt, if just for fun, I figured I kept tally of some like Wall Street consensus stuff.
Oh yeah. Let's hear those.
Was going to happen in 2024. I'll just like bullet point run through them. So coming into 2024, the sort of culmination of Wall Street talking heads and strategists had the following consensus views that the dollar was going to be much weaker in 2024. We didn't really talk about currency in our own predictions, but that did not really pan out. U.S. dollar is mostly stronger at this point from where it was last year. A lot of bond bulls. So bond market was looked at as being quite bullish. Didn't exactly come to fruition. So that was pretty much dead wrong. I guess the medium forecast on the 10-year treasury yield was about 3.98. So it's not that far off, like from where it actually is.
We're looking at 4.59
4.5.
Yeah,
they did tick up yesterday to the Wall Street.
No, you're right. You're right. Yeah, it's not an awful prediction, but we were more right than they were on that.
Correct.
One.
And then big one on stocks, no fireworks for next year. Consensus view for equity markets as investors have already scooped up stocks on expectations of a soft economic landing, a flurry of interest rate cuts, record highs have been broken on a number of benchmarks, confounding bearish forecasts set by the likes of Morgan Stanley, JP Morgan, Goldman Sachs. The biggest focus for 24 is whether big tech can extend its meteoric rise following its best year since the dot-com bubble. So, here we are 12 months later, and it's why things are just so difficult to predict. It's not, everybody on Wall Street was clamoring it's going to be very difficult for these big tech companies to continue their dominance, and they certainly did this year.
Yeah, and if you hear a lot of big Wall Street strategists that then go on to become portfolio managers, a lot of times they'll say the greatest thing about becoming a portfolio manager and actually managing money is I don't have to make predictions anymore. I can just manage the money for a longer term horizon and so on. So not surprising that they swung and missed there, much like we did on a number of things.
To my own credit, the last 2 years of predictions, if I was a Wall Street strategist, I think I might be a top earner. It might be time to retire on top.
Right. Everybody would be clamoring for your 2025 predictions.
Right. That's right.
It might be, I don't know. As the contrarian, I think it's time to fade Pat. I'm not feeling optimistic.
I would fade me too if I was the audience.
All right, well, let's hear what the predictions are.
All right. So we'll do similar type stuff, but we'll mix it up a little bit. But let's start with some of the vanilla stuff. Let's deal with U.S. large cap stocks again. We can use the S&P as just sort of a bogey there. Again, we'll set 5 parameters. A flat market we'll call anywhere from -5 to +5. A modest up or modest down would be 5 to 15. And then something in excess of 15 in either direction would be a large move. Aaron, you go first. What do you got?
So I feel a little bit of the exuberance coming from clients, the media, on the markets, and things are only going to go up from here. So I'm going to be pretty specific here. I think that, and yesterday maybe got in the way a little bit because I was waiting for this to be after the new year to take a big dive. I think you're going to have some really rough markets early on just because everyone's, wishing for like rainbows and butterflies. And I think we'll run into some problems, but I think then we do end up having a really good year for the total 12 months of the year, 10 to 15% range on U.S. large cap stocks. So
you're in the modest up camp, but with a sort of roller coaster to get there.
Yeah, and I think the beginning part of the year will be a bit of a rough one. I do.
And I know we say this in every podcast, but especially this one. This is just for fun. Please do not invest on our predictions for better or worse. But Pat, go ahead.
I'm pretty similar to you, Aaron. I think the only change in my prediction is I'm going to go 5 to 10, which sounds like the boring answer, but just to defend myself, this is what got me my prediction right the last 2 years, which is looking at the return of the U.S. stock market after we've had a bear market of 20% or more. And in the third year after a bear market, generally, I'm just looking at like anecdotal evidence, stocks have started to lose a little bit of steam and they've returned in that 5 to 10% range. So that's where I'm going to stick. I agree with you, Aaron. I think we see some serious volatility only because we have had such little downside volatility, and that's just not normal. Like I think we're going to have a choppier year. And I think that's, I think that's likely to come to fruition just based on odds of law of averages.
So if we set that parameter at 5 to 15, you're both in the modestly up camp. It's just Aaron's a little more optimistic than you are, but you're both in the same range. Mm-hmm. So one anecdotal thing that you just mentioned, bear market. You said third year since the bear market, which would suggest there was a bear market in 2022. And you're correct. And if you factor in bonds, it was an ugly bear market. The reason I'm going on this rant right now is nobody remembers, whether it's media, clients, portfolio managers even. It's almost like we've been in this euphoric rise forever. It's like it was just 2 years ago, or I guess now will be 3, but 2022, I think it was worst year since the Depression for a 60-40 portfolio. So how soon they forget. But
just real quick on that to pound the table. I was with somebody the other day, a week ago. We were going back. Great returns this year. I said great returns last year. I said, look, if you go back a year earlier, though, it was a really rough year. I mentioned that, and they're like, yeah, but it wasn't that bad. Yes. Again, how we forget?
yes, how we forget
was really like.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And so one thing, you don't want to be stubborn, but one thing that always annoys me about strategists, portfolio managers, when I see them is that they'll have a prediction, things will go the opposite way, and then they'll totally change course. So they're bearish, market goes up, then they get bullish. Doesn't make sense to me. So I'm sticking to my guns. I don't think it's going to be a disastrous year, but I think we're in the flat camp on so that -5 to +5. And my guess is it's pretty close to the flat line. I do agree with both of you. I think volatility is coming back next year, and I just don't think we get very far. And by the way, after the 2 years we've had, I don't think that's the worst thing in the world either. If that's what happened, you're a long-term investor, you get 2 great years and 1 mediocre year, we'll all live. If that's the way it happens. All right. So we're on record for that one. Let's go to some of these sub-asset class things in equities. And I guess in the interest of time on this one, just because we have a bunch more we want to get to, let's just rank. They didn't. Aaron and Pat didn't know this before. We're doing this sort of off the cuff, but let's just rank U.S. large cap stocks, U.S. small mid, and foreign. 3 categories from first to worst. Which will be what's your ranking for next year?
And I'm taking that order.
Okay, so so you're U.S. large, U.S. SMID, we'll say, and foreign being last. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay, Pat.
I'm going to U.S. large, foreign, and then small mid last. I'm giving foreign a little bit more credit.
All right. I'm going contrarian altogether, as you might have imagined. I'm going foreign best. I think that the losing streak will finally end. As I'm saying this, I guess the Bills and Lions are going to play in the Super Bowl or something. But the losing streak will finally end. I say foreign is the best. I'll put large caps. No, you know what? I'm going to put large caps last. I want small and mid second.
All right.
Which is a little counterintuitive, but I do think at some point valuations matter a little more, and small and mid and foreign look a little more appealing valuation wise.
I should have gone, if I was sticking with my 5 to 10% large cap prediction. Logically, I should have put foreign first because I kind of think that they're going to rebound, especially in emerging markets where we've had some serious dislocations. But that's okay. I'll stick with my point, and I like yours, Matt.
All right, let's shift to where all the cool kids hang out, the bond market, and let's see a couple different. Let's just go broadly there. We can do 3 categories instead of 5 for that. So a roughly flat bond market, which I guess we could say bonds are generally less volatile. So let's say somewhere in that -3 to +3% return. And then anything more extreme than that would be either a good or a bad bond market. So any thoughts on that one?
I'll let one of you guys go first.
Sorry, Matt, can you just say it one more time? Exactly what we're...
Yeah, so let's say, what's it called? The Bloomberg Aggregate Index now? Is that who owns the index? Yeah, it's changed hands a bunch.
Yeah.
Let's just say that index, if it's anywhere from -3 to +3, we'll call that a flat market. Yep. And then anything more extreme in either direction would either be an up or a down market.
This one's tough. I mean, based on what everyone, with some of the consensus as of today, December 19th, from the Fed's comments yesterday, I'm going to stick to my bond bullishness. I think because everyone is talking about rates slowing down, rate cuts slowing down, and rates plummeting and staying higher for longer. I'm going to stick in the same camp I was last year. I think we have volatility, maybe some economic weakness that's unforeseen that leads to the Fed continuing the rate cuts and bonds, moving up.
I'm going to take the flat, and I'll be specific again. I think total return ends up being down a little bit for bonds. I think that we're going to run into inflation again, interest rates not being cut or as fast as one might like. So I think it'll be a bumpy ride again.
So I'm a little ambivalent on this one. And I think in hindsight, I might have set the parameters too tight, but I think I'm going to go flat. I do think I'll be a little more specific. I think marginally positive, but not enough to get over that threshold. I think rates have backed. Had we done this 2 months ago, I would have been more negative. But rates have backed up a lot in the last couple of months, and I kind of see a more modest rate movement in either direction next year. So it's pretty close to a coupon clipping market. Coupon on the aggregate index, I think, is between 3 and 4. Maybe rates back up a little bit. So I think we're real close to that that positive 3% barrier. But I'll take the flat side.
All right.
And then speaking of rates, and then we can get on to some more fun stuff. But speaking of rates. Any predictions on the Fed next year? I guess where is consensus after yesterday? I guess there are two different consensus. I think the Fed laid out a consensus of about 2 cuts, but the Fed funds futures market I think is calling for none. Last I saw, I haven't looked.
Mm-hmm. And hence the dislocation of assets a little bit.
The dot plot shows central bank will cut interest rates 2 times in 25.
All right, so why don't we just do a simple over, under, or push on that? If we set the line at 2 cuts, we get more than that, or on the aggregate, or less, or exactly 2.
I'm going to go over just to support all of my theses so far.
I'll go under, even though that hurts I think my back end of the year being good for the stock market, because if rates aren't coming down, maybe that's not good. I could even see a scenario where you get an increase, again, following back to what I just said on inflation, and you keep it under control. So I think under 2.
Damn, Aaron, you and I are starting to really diverge.
Yeah. We'll see next year.
Yeah.
And I'm going to go push. I'm going to go, we get exactly the 2 cuts, and then they sort of chill out for a little bit.
I do think that's a good bet, because you maybe get them early in the year, they're both done, and then we just hold and see where things go.
It's the most reasonable one, which is why it's always hard to.
Which means it's got to be wrong,
right?
Yeah.
All right, cool. Well, real quick, just similar. I kept so now Wall Street's coming out with all their 2025 predictions.
Yep.
Generally speaking, I'll be even quicker on this one. U.S. equities, this is like Wall Street being such cowards. Nobody's going out on a limb. They've got Goldman's got 10% up next year. Morgan Stanley's got 11% up next year. The most outlandish bull case is I think I saw 17% higher from where we are today. Everybody's super pessimistic on China and some foreign stuff. We got a couple strategists who are think European stocks might move a little higher towards the 5 to 10% range. Again, these are all very boring predictions in my eyes. One Goldman analyst likes gold to 3,000 an ounce, which is still not that much higher than where it is today. One, not to throw us for a loop. Should we talk about Bitcoin at all?
As you said gold, I'm like, wait, we got to do something on Bitcoin.
That was going to be one of my random ones for the end.
So you want to save it?
Well, we can do it now.
All right, go ahead. Pat, you want to set the parameters on Bitcoin, what we're predicting here?
Yeah, so let me say first, and I'll take a loss up front here because I'm just remembering. I think 2 years ago we talked about Bitcoin when we were in the doldrums of the bear market in Bitcoin. Aaron had asked us what's more likely to happen, $100,000 Bitcoin or zero, I think. And at that time it was at it had gone from 40 to 16 or something like that. Yeah. And I said 0, you said 100, Matt. And I was dead wrong. And that it hit 100 much quicker than I think any of us anticipated.
That's because I'm a crypto guy.
You're a big crypto guy. Long story short, I think I'm more of a believer, and I think maybe this is everyone who's in TradFi, as the crypto bros like to call us. I am more in the camp of I believe in that it's an asset, like true asset class that deserves some respect and attention. However, I think just following historical patterns of Bitcoin and cryptocurrency, it's still a very volatile asset class, and I think we get a leg down in 2025 just based on everybody's talking about it again, and being that being my barometer, that's usually when it falls. Is when everyone wants to start buying again.
Matt, go ahead.
So I guess our question there is just up or down.
Yeah,
I went really general, but take it however you want.
I'd go down. I think way too much enthusiasm, and I think it's a little bit of a buy the rumor, sell the news thing with the Trump administration being pro crypto.
Yeah, that's a good point. This is a really good point.
I'm on the same boat there. I think you're gonna have a rough. I think it follows my stock general prediction, and maybe where I said stocks will come back, maybe Bitcoin doesn't. But I think because when we in the industry talk a lot about this and talk to a lot of people in different scopes of their lives and different opinions, and when you get a lot of people clamoring for one thing, it is usually the party's over. Not always, but I think at least for the relative short term, medium term, it'll have a rough go.
Yeah. All right. So let's shift to sports, and then we'll get to some randoms or world affairs or whatever. And we can. What I was thinking on sports is we could just sort of fire away with the major sports here, who our predicted champions are, unless somebody has a more random sports prediction. So I don't want to, stifle you guys if you want to go somewhere.
Well, I'm going to with my Dolphins prediction last year, the part of the Dolphins was I said I think that the Chiefs were going down hard. So this year, I'm really doubling down there. I think the Chiefs have been playing with fire. I think they blow up. And they almost lose every single game, and then they win, which is maybe to their credit why they will continue to win. But at this time, I think they're going down.
The Chiefs' PE is way above their price to book. I think.
Yeah, that's right. They've had way too much multiple expansion.
So much multiple expansion. I couldn't agree more. That's a good one.
You got an NFL one, Pat?
NFL. I hadn't thought about this, so let me think. Do you have one handy, Max?
Yeah, I'll go. I'll go in the NFL. And I will admit, part of this is a reverse jinx as an Eagles fan that I don't want to get too optimistic because they look fantastic recently. But I think this is the year the Bills finally get it done. And I will say, obviously, if they're playing the Eagles, I will be rooting for the Eagles. But otherwise, I would be rooting for the Bills in that game. I feel like those fans are insane. They've had a rough go of it for a century or so, and I think the Bills get it done with Josh Allen this year.
I think it's based on that. I'm actually going to go. I'm going to go Detroit. So they're they're front runner generally speaking in the NFC right now. But they had the big showdown with the Bills last week.
Yep,
Bills came out victorious. I find it's very difficult to beat a team twice in a single season when they're both that good. Coming from a Giants fan who lost to the Patriots in 2007 and then beat them in the Super Bowl. So I'm going to go with that. I'm going to say Detroit stays hot. They make it to the Super Bowl. They may face off against the Bills, but the Bills go Bills and they lose in the Super Bowl.
All right. Anything we could go through each sport, or if you have any random sports predictions, anything you want to hit there?
I am feeling as positive as I think anybody on the Sixers with no other reason than they are so bad right now. Embiid's out. I don't even know if he's out or in, but it's going to be perfect because I've been saying for the last 5 years, don't let Embiid play until February and then just get hot. Because we clearly know what happens when he plays the whole season. He can't make it through the season. So I don't think anybody is on the Sixers train right now. But because of that, everyone's hurt. Everyone's out. There's no mojo. They're coming in hot towards the summer. So
where do you think that leads them?
I don't know if I would be so bold as saying win the NBA Finals. You still got the Celtics and things like that. But out of the second round, I think that's our battle here.
All right. So this is the year. I like it. It's not crazy, and they have a lot of talent on that team. They have a good coach. They just need to actually. I think they're 1-0 on the season when their big three play a whole game together.
But our rookie there, how long is he going to be out for?
He might not be back until next year. I think there's a chance that he could be back in the playoffs, but They did the surgery. I think meniscus, maybe.
Yeah.
All right, I like that. I have a random prediction on a sport we almost never talk about on here, which is college football. And I also went to a college with no football team, so this really shouldn't be my area. But I like this whole new college football playoff. They finally, broadened out the playoff after not having a playoff for years and then having a 14 playoff. And for whatever reason, I'm going full contrarian here. The team that can never win a big game runs off 4 in a row, and I think Penn State surprises and wins the national title.
Whoa.
That's a big pick. The people of the Keystone State are going to be psyched about this.
By the way, by the time this podcast drops, they will have played their first round game against SMU, and they could already be out. But I think Penn State goes on a run. That's my random sports prediction.
We better get this out quickly.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. That would be cool. I like it. I don't have anything random. I'm the resident hockey fan, so I'll go NHL. I'll part practical, part hometown bias prediction here. I'm going to go the Dallas Stars, who are a hot team in the NHL in the West right now, are going to make it to the Stanley Cup final and dethrone the Edmonton Oilers. Not dethrone, but they're going to beat the Edmonton Oilers, the odds-on favorite to get to the final, only to lose to my New Jersey Devils.
I saw that comment.
I knew that was coming.
That's great.
Well, Pat, as you know, I sent you a hockey text last week. I'm a big Jack Hughes guy now.
That's right. The Hughes family.
Yeah,
I think the Devils will make a big move before the trade deadline, and that's going to put them on this momentous move towards the Cup final that no one sees coming. So probably get disappointed, but I'm gonna
just like the Sixers.
Yeah, exactly.
Right. Same thing. Any other predictions, outlandish thoughts?
Not in the area of sports. Do you want to move to just our generalist final predictions?
Go ahead. Maybe one of your predictions will spark my thought on something else if you have some.
All right, I'll do a random one, and I guess you would call this world affairs or the Trump administration, but it's not. It's more up Pat's alley. I think you'll like this one, Pat. 2025 is the year where more or less we finally find out who killed JFK.
Nice.
You've been clamoring for that for a while now.
I mean, it's time. It's been 60 years. Level with us.
Yes, everybody's dead who knows anything at this point. So just give us the information.
Right. Could the truth be worse than all of the speculation? I mean, it's pretty awful, right?
I will tell you this, as a resident of the hot conspiracy area of the country right now with the drones.
Oh, yeah.
It's on the government's hush. Well, I guess it's different administration right now. But they got sealed lips on that one. It does not give me a lot of confidence that we're going to hear a whole lot about anything in the deep state. But I would love that. I would be pumped if we heard it, if we finally got the truth.
Can I give you something on this conspiracy?
Yeah.
Eagles game Sunday. Sometimes they don't have flyovers every game. And I haven't talked to anyone at the game from this past Sunday. Who did we beat? The Steelers?
Yeah, they beat the Steelers. Yeah.
So the game starts at 1. And the military with their timing is they're not bringing out the jets and circling around until they know when to get there at 1 o'clock. They know when to take off to get there at 1 o'clock.
Yeah.
For 15 minutes. And I live, 15 miles, 20, whatever it is from the stadiums. These jets were circling over and over, 4 of them all together. So maybe all 4 went to the stadium, but were their clocks that wrong that they had to keep circling Ambler, Pennsylvania?
Look at Pat scratching his chin. He's like he knows, it's like.
It's not that I know, but I know that it's bullshit.
Now, the one other funny thing I'll say about these drones, if they want to be that secretive, wouldn't they be out during the day when they can see, not at night? And number 2, why would they be out at night with lights on? Wouldn't they just turn their lights off?
Correct.
Are they not, come on.
Well, that's
what do they have against New Jersey?
I don't know. That's why I don't think it's adversarial. I don't think it's any foreign, threat. I think it's our own government. They know exactly what's going on. They're doing something for whatever reason. They don't want to tell us why or what they're doing. But that's my take on it. And it's weird. I've told you guys, every night the last 3 weeks, there's 5 to 12 at some nights in my backyard, just flying around. Yeah.
So weird.
Yeah. So weird.
All right, Pat, any random predictions?
I really don't have any crazy random predictions. Aaron, do you have a?
No, I'm predicted out. I try to think of like the election's over. We could do other presidential things, but I think that's so passe at this point.
I'll give you one political one for us to wrap up on. Very simple. Over under a year from now when we're doing the podcast, over under 50% Trump's approval rating.
I thought you were going to say 50% of he still being in office or not.
Oh, no, I wasn't going there.
I didn't want to say that either. But
well, if the stock market falls, it's going to be a big indicator of whether or not that number is above 50%. I am going to go above 50%, but I'm probably going to be wrong. I don't know.
That's a tough one. Matt, what do you say?
I'm going to go under. I'm again on the buy the rumor, sell the news thing. I think there is some logical optimism for some things that may go on, particularly economically. But I think maybe we've gotten a little too optimistic, and it's and I think I don't think it's going to be like 10% or some crazy number, but I would take the under there.
I think just knowing him, forgetting politics and your views on the world, I think most people could agree his life, the gravity of him is pretty chaotic.
I think that's fair. Yes.
So I think he'll keep it all together for a while, and then something will blow up at some point. But maybe that's not until after 12 months from now. Yeah. So I'm going to say, to your question, over 50% in 2025.
All right.
I'm already making my 26 prediction. Then not.
Yeah, I like it. That's a good question.
All right. So as we wrap up, any favorites that you're watching, seeing, reading, or favorite Christmas song, wherever you want to take it?
I have a favorite Christmas song.
What am I?
Tom Petty. Tom Petty's Christmas song. I think.
Which one is Tom Petty?
What is it called?
Is that Christmas All Over Again? Or
yeah. That's a good one. I like Tom Petty in general.
Again, yeah. Dude, Phil loves Tom Petty. That's probably his favorite.
There's a lot of good ones though.
Christmas. I have a lot. John Lennon's "Happy Christmas" is one of my favorites.
It's a good one.
Christmas of Love, which is like from The Grinch. Kara and I are always like, it's her favorite movie, and it's very it's kind of like funny and bizarre. And that one's near the top of our list every year. We're always listening to that, jamming to it.
I think I'll go with I like U2's "Baby Please Come Home."
Yeah, it's a good.
I actually really like Bruce Springsteen's live "Santa Claus Is Coming to Town" rendition.
Classic, total classic.
That's a good one. Definitely a good one. Yeah. I like those rock and roll renditions.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah. Slow Horses, I've gone through two seasons of. I'm several seasons behind, which I usually don't do, is get on like the real hype train way late. I'm always late, but I don't then usually get on the train. I just let it go right on by. So I don't know. There's 4 or 5 seasons, so I watched 2. Pretty good. I hate to think like I have to watch things on subtitles now. Like I'm not like young enough and quick enough, but I can't understand half the things they say. So subtitles does help, even though it's in English.
Right, but it's their English. It's not. It's not an American.
So I test myself now. I put on subtitles and I try not to look, and I try to hear what they say and then read it and see if I'm right. And it's tough.
Yeah.
Yeah. That was a good show. I fell off after the first season, but it's not because I didn't like it. I did like it. I haven't been watching anything crazy. I'm in like, oh, you know what? I should say this. Kara and I'm a huge Lord of the Rings nerd, if anybody didn't know that. And every year I've been telling Kara that she's got to watch them with me. And finally, I don't know what it was, but she was like, let's do it. She's like, was down to go for it. So over the last 2 weeks, we watched all 3 of the original series, the extended versions too, which are like almost 4 hours each. And, God, I love this. There's such a good saga, in my opinion. And she was really into it, so it was cool.
What did I watch? Oh, you know what I've been watching? So I watched that show on Netflix. I think it's called Madness. Mm-hmm. I was a little disappointed. I thought it was going to be better. It's like a suspense kind of movie. It's an interesting plot, and it wasn't bad, but I had higher expectations in the early episodes. It sort of left me a little flat at the end. And my mindless show I've been watching, and I apologize to anybody who doesn't think it's mindless, but I do enjoy it, is Lincoln Lawyer, which is not a world-class show in my opinion, but it keeps me entertained.
Fair. It's a good one. I always see that out there on Netflix floating around.
Yeah. All right. Well, look, you guys are right outside of my office, so it's not like we're not going to see each other. But I guess for the podcast and YouTube audience, Merry Christmas, Happy Hanukkah, Happy New Year, and good health and prosperity for everybody.
Thank you. Let's do it again next year.
Yeah, well said. Happy holidays, everybody.
Happy New Year. Thanks, everyone.
See ya.